Hey guys, I'm back with another video. I'm always talking about or posting CRK deals up on my Instagram story. The other two Chris Reeves knives I have, the small Insingo and the large Insingo, those both were used blades. Usually I try never to pay over $300 for a Chris Reeves knife because they're out there. Now the Umnumzon is a little bit of a different beast. They usually don't go that cheap, but I was lucky enough to just kind of be looking. I really wanted an SMF Tonto with the old profile. They don't make those anymore. They don't come around often, and when they do, they're very expensive. So I've really been appreciating Chris Reeves as a company lately. So the next natural fit for me in my mind was trying to find an Umnumzon Tonto for that $300 price range, and I did it. So since I'm always talking about those deals, sometimes that gets into a little bit of a discussion in the comments, about just purchasing secondhand and all the various and sort of things that can come along with it. I will tell you, I purchased this knife on Reddit from a person I do not know. They have no affiliation with anybody or any group that I know. I simply did my due diligence by looking at the pictures, making sure their timestamp matched, paying with PayPal goods, and asking the seller lots of questions. That is it. This is a knife from a total stranger. So with that said, I got this Umnumzon, a $450 knife for $300. So I saved $150. Now, what did I get for that $150 savings? So obviously I have the box here. The box comes with everything, including the warranty card, all that stuff. So if that's, I know some people, the sticker, some people, they really care about those things. It's nice to have, but it's not the end of the world to me. I've got these tools out because I'm going to use them to take the knife apart in a little bit. So it came with the tools. It came rolled in the microfiber cloth. It came with the lanyard steel tied and on the lanyard stud. It also came with the Chris Reeves lube and the Loctite that they sell with it. So this was a complete knife. Nothing was left out of the package. I know now it's time to look at the knife itself. So I will tell you, this knife is not in the usual condition of a $300 Chris Reeves knife that I would buy. However, there are many more $300 21s out there on the market than there are $300 Umnumzons. So you can see here, this is the scale itself. You can see there's some light wear here and there. This is the other side. You can see on the edge of that pocket clip, there's some wear there, but no real major dings, scuffs, nicks, scratches, anything like that. This right here appears to be something major. You can't even feel it. I'm sure it probably rubbed up against something and some of the color transferred off onto that part of the scale. The centering, it is Chris Reeves centered. So there is nothing to complain about with the centering. The action flies right open, locks right up. This is the lockup, so about typical for an Umnumzon, not too late, not too early, right around usual. Disengages without any stick or anything like that. It does drop down, but you have to kind of give it some momentum with your fingers. But nothing major. Flies right out, like I said, no stick. Detent is solid in the closed position. There's no detent slop. There's nothing really to speak of about this knife that is negative. It locks up. There's no blade play up and down or left and right. However, as you can see kind of right here, the only issues with this blade are cosmetic. So there are a few scuffs along the blade, and I'll show you those now. You can see some there. You can see some there. And if you look at this edge, you can see that obviously, if you couldn't tell by the wear on the blade. This blade has been used. So this knife is also duller than a $300 Chris Reeve 21 I would usually get. But again, you don't see many $300 Chris Reeve Nums. And if you do, they're usually pretty beat up, which is not a big deal. You guys, you can send them in to Chris Reeve, send them in for a spa treatment. They'll sharpen them up. They'll reblast the handles, the whole 9 yards, replace any parts that are worn out. It's not a big deal. It's like $17.50 to get the knife back. So anyway, back to this knife. The tip is not bad. Let's see if I can get it to focus. But there is a shiny spot or two on the tip. But the tip is not sharp anyway. It's not meant to be sharp. This is more for scraping, prying, and just pure stabbing. So you can see as well, speaking of stabbing, you can see how pointy that tip still is. So this knife still has its point, which would be one of the more difficult things to repair. So that is the knife and the package in and of itself. Like I said, nothing really major here. I know one of the other things I usually hear is basically about abuse and you don't know what's inside the knife and this, that, and the other. So I'm going to take this knife apart. So I'll tell you guys now, this is going to be a little bit longer of a video. So if you don't like longer videos, you might want to go ahead and click off now. That is no problem with me. These tools are provided by Chris Reeve Knives with the any of the knives that you buy from them. They are Weha bits. If you aren't familiar, Weha is a German manufacturer of these Allen keys. They are very high quality. People swear by them. After I stripped out a screw in my Benchmade bug out scale and ended up ruining the scale, I quickly learned that I needed to go ahead and buy some Weha bits. So if you don't own any Weha bits, I would suggest you buy some. So the pivot screw is out. I am now going to take out the handle screw, and those are the only two fast fixtures on this knife. So you only have the back spacer here and then the pivot screw to hold this knife together. So it's very simple construction, and you can kind of see there how tight that fit is. That screw didn't even want to come off of that Allen key right there. So, and I know I unscrewed this with the pivot partially open. I did that with the knife partially open. I did that on purpose, so I don't need any comments about safety or anything like that. I'm a safe guy, and if I cut myself, I'm a big enough boy to suck it up and deal with it. So you can see here, this is the inside of the scale. It is a little bit crusty, but nothing major. Let's pull this off of the pivot screw. You can see this does not have a bearing system, bushing system rather. It is just purely on a pivot screw rather. You can see there, again, that Chris Reeves lube has dried up, but nothing major. Here is one of the washers. You can see there. You can see the other side of the washer. Again, nothing major, you know, just regular average washer. Here is the tang of the blade. We'll flip it over to the other side. You can see there the ceramic ball that's in there has worn a groove, a track onto the tang of this knife blade. You can't, it doesn't catch your thumb. So like I said, it's not a groove, it's just a track. Here's the washer. Let's try to get this focused. Here's the washer. The other side, again, nothing major, just, you know, regular normal stuff. Here is the blade tang where that washer was at. And as you can see, the knife is completely apart. So it's a very easy knife to take apart. Very few parts, very precision fit, very good Allen keys to take this knife apart. Not an issue at all. So this is what I got for $150 savings. So it does need an edge. There are some cosmetic scratches on the blade and a few things on the handle, but you know, I guess this was just to show you guys approximately what you get when you get into this savings. Now, I know there will still be some people that'll say, I don't care what the savings is. I don't care if it was half price. I want to be the first owner of that knife. That's fine. There's some people that are more concerned about the cosmetics. I bought this knife to be a user, so I wasn't really too concerned as long as it was functionally fine, meaning the tip was intact and the bevel here wasn't totally jacked up. I was fine with those things. Again, that's something that you have to make a decision yourself as a buyer. But I want to show you guys firsthand. Knife I just got out in the mail yesterday. Exactly what I get in the mail when I'm talking about these types of deals. Again, the 21s that sell for $300 are not in this type of condition. You can buy a $300 21 that maybe it has a sharpened edge, maybe it has one single snail trail, something like that, but 9 times out of 10 there's somebody's safe queen that they just aren't using, and they want to get rid of for one reason or another. So I'm gonna take this knife, or not take this knife apart, I'm sorry. I'm gonna clean the knife up, I'm going to sharpen the blade, and then I'm going to reassemble it. So I don't know if I'll add that to this video or not, but if you have watched the video until this point, I appreciate it. And remember, a lazy man carries a dull knife.